let's talk about what is actually going on with the world right now. Because I know, even though people say it's the government and they say it's the world and they say it's, all the people in the world that are out here, I actually don't think that's the problem. Personally, I think, and this goes way back to probably World War One, because this was the first time, right, that we really had separation of family. Prior to World War One, generally, we didn't have that massive separation. We didn't have parents being pulled away from their children and forced to commit such horrible acts on human beings that they didn't even know. And also, let's talk about the people, the 18-year-olds, the 17-year-olds, the 19, the 20-year-olds who hadn't even become parents yet, who, for whatever reason, believed that this was a great idea to go and join the war and fight for their country. Worst decision ever. Because now what we're doing is we're creating these massive amounts of fear inside lots and lots and lots of young children, mostly men, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, these kids going out and having to look someone in the eye and end their life. I don't think any of us could really imagine what that could do to somebody's brain. I really don't think, unless you've actually been in that situation, I don't think we can ever understand what that did. But what I do believe is that it just slowly destroyed I think really the love, the feelings, the good feelings, the compassion, the care, the kindness that this whole generation of people had at the time. And then you've also got you've got these 30-year-old men, 40-year-old men all going out to fight what they believe was the right thing to do. But what I believe, the reason why I think things are a problem now is because parents aren't actually parenting their children. They're not showing up for their kids. They're not loving their kids. And don't take this the wrong way. I know you're out and you're working your ass off and you're doing two jobs and you're feeding your kids and you're doing everything you can and you're dealing with them being bullied in school, or you're dealing with bad teachers or a terrible education department, or you're dealing with high tax. I get it. We're dealing with all of this stuff. I'm a single mum, right? I had $6.02 left in my bank account this week, and it was another 5 days until I got paid. Like, I get what not having any money is. I get this push and these pinches that we are getting at the moment. I get that. However, I am still learning how to show up for my daughter as a kind, compassionate, caring parent, because my dad believed that kindness and compassion and caring was actually hitting me and getting the brush and making sure that he whacked the living daylights out of me just to make sure that I would behave. In his brain, that was him loving me. It was obviously him controlling me. And my mum, who neither of them are here now, but my mum had a man who cheated on her when she was pregnant with me and then left her with a newborn baby and a 3-year-old to go and shag everything he could. So we have these parents who were raised by parents who went off to war. And if they did not go off on to war, they didn't go to World War One or they didn't go to World War Two, they were at the very least exposed to it via the news, via the radio, via all of these different sources. And they were not parented. Their parents were terrified. They were terrified about what this war meant. They weren't there with their kids after school. They weren't there playing with their kids in the front yard or the backyard. They were sitting, listening to the radio to try and find out the news. And it played 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? This is what our parents and our grandparents went through. So my grandpa went to war, and I know he came back a completely different man. And it's hard because my mum and my dad did not know how to love me. And the week before my dad passed away, I had a conversation with him and I shared this with him. And he looked at me and he burst into tears and he said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't love you." And I said, "I know you didn't." And he said, "I missed out on an entire life of loving you." I said, "Yeah, you did." And then a week later, he had passed away. And my mum, actually, the day before she passed away, I had a conversation with her. And my mum realized that everything that I had said about this other person was true. And she apologized to me. And she said, "I'm so sorry. I just didn't see it. I didn't see what you were talking about." She said, I missed all of it." And I said, "Yeah, you did. I know." And then she unfortunately passed away the next day. So we weren't really able to really connect and reconcile. But this is what our parents went through. They stopped being parented because of the war, because of World War One and because of World War Two. Our parents, our parents' parents, our parents' parents' parents, they stopped parenting. They stopped loving their children because they were terrified of this war. So now what you have is generations and generations and generations of human beings who are so possessed with consuming and watching the TV and being on their phones and YouTube and social media. I mean, look at the breakdown. Kids under the age of 16 can't be on Facebook. This should not be a massive meltdown of an issue, right? We should not have people around the world protesting because kids can't spend time on a device. This should not be something we should be protesting about. We should have been out protesting when they removed arts and they removed drama and they removed singing and dancing and all of these different types of performances from schools around the world. We should have all been out in protest for that, not for the fact that kids under the age of 16 can't be on social media. What? Like, what? This is not an important thing. This is not something to melt down about. It's a massive decline of humanity, really. And it is ultimately because, and I know this is probably going to offend a lot of people, but parents just aren't loving their kids because they don't know how, because they didn't learn, because they were not taught. I was not taught how to love my daughter. I was taught how to punish my daughter. I was taught how to control my daughter. I was taught how to make sure that she sticks to a certain set of rules and boundaries that I'm apparently meant to uphold to keep her within this box that she has to be in. And thankfully, I'm so thankful that I woke up to all of that before I even had her. And so I unraveled all of that before I even had her. But having her has really made me realize how I don't know how to love. It's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to move into a place of love. I don't really know what that is. I don't know how it feels. I don't know what it looks like. I am definitely showing up for my daughter and um, doing what I can. So telling her that I love her and hugging her and supporting her and allowing her to have space and allowing her to have freedom of expression for who she is and things that she wants to do. But then there are other things that are really valuable and important to her that I really struggle to show up for. And then I look at parents around me where kids are being unkind and the parents aren't showing up. They're quite literally sitting on their phone. And my daughter and I have both been exposed to this over the years where kids have been unkind to her and the parents have been sitting there and they've done nothing. Or we spend a lot of time with horses and people have been unkind to horses. And there are other people standing on their phones or just standing and watching and saying nothing, like it's not a big deal. Yeah, it's fine. They punch a horse, fine. That's okay. That's normal. That's what you do. And I look and I think, on what planet is it normal to punch a horse? How is that? How is that normal? And then the same person would abuse her children. And then I have spoken to other people who were there as well. And they go, "Oh no, yeah, that's what my parents did to me." It's like, how does that make it okay? How does make screaming abuse at your child okay just because, or someone else screaming abuse at their child just because your parents screamed abuse at you? It doesn't make sense in my brain. And this is actually why I think the world has gone to shit. It's not because of the governments. They're just taking advantage. They're just taking advantage of what people have let happen to themselves. People have initially, again, not their fault. They didn't know this was going to be the outcome. But initially, parents went to war and they forgot about their kids. They were so absorbed in the war, understandably, right? Then they came back and then they became absorbed in the trauma that they got from the war. Totally, again, totally understandable. All of this is completely understandable. And it is all meant to be served with massive amounts of compassion for all the people that went through this experience. But this is why. It's because parents, unfortunately, and even before they were parents, these kids who hadn't even had kids yet went and basically ended the life of hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. They all got together and they all did it, and then they all celebrated. And I'm guessing that somewhere along the line, they just lost a tiny piece of themselves, and then a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more with each human life that they took. And then what happens is we're now in this world where parents aren't showing up for their kids. They're not supporting their kids. They're not paying attention when their kids are bullying and being mean. And I watch parents watch their kids be mean and do nothing about it. And it's sad for the kids. It's sad that these parents aren't showing up for the kids and setting boundaries. And I'm not talking about punishing them. I'm talking about setting boundaries. And there's a difference. And supporting these kids because obviously they're struggling. But obviously they're struggling because their parents are struggling. And it's this vicious cycle. But at some point, someone needs to stick their foot in the ground and go, enough. I've had enough of the cycle. I've had enough of my family being mean to me. And yeah, I'm using terms like being me. And if you want to jump up and go down and go, oh, someone was mean to you, you can do that. I'm just using that term so I don't swear and get really aggressive. And I'm just trying to keep it a little PG here. But people are doing horrible things. Kids are doing horrible things, right? There are 10, 11-year-old kids that are kidnapping 1, 2-year-old babies and ending their lives and then leaving them there. Like, this happens. I watched a thing today. This stuff happens. Where were the parents of those 2 kids, or where are the support people for those 2 kids? And again, not their fault. They are a product of these wars that were created. And unfortunately, they didn't have the support and they didn't know. But I wanted to do this video to say, if you are a parent who has a kid that is being bullied or that is bullying or that seems to be destructive, have a look at yourself. Have a look at, have you dealt with your own trauma? Have you looked at what your parents did to you? Have you looked at what your grandparents did to you? Have you looked at what your teachers did to you? What your friends did to you? What happened to you in school? Have you looked at any of it at all? Or are you just turning up and reacting through all of these kind of like ping pong balls that are going off inside your body every time something happens, and you react, and you just, something happens and you react, something happens and you react, something happens and you react, without any conscious awareness of the fact that you are reacting through life and reacting to things that are happening outside of you that you actually have complete control over. There is only one thing that we all have control over in this world, and that is how we feel about what happens to us. Technically, 2 things: how we feel about what happens to us and how we react to what happens to us. They are the 2 things. That's it. That's all we have control over. Everything else we do not have control over. But those 2 things, how we feel and how we react to what happens to us, that we have control over. So my suggestion to you would be, as brutally as I can put it, figure it out. figure it out. I had some shit things happen to me, and some of you go, oh, yeah, it's probably not that bad. I was like, well, I don't know. I could go down the path of my life is just as bad as your life, but why? You get to choose whether you take this and you go, shit, I better figure my stuff out because something's going wrong in the world and I don't want to be a part of it. And I don't want my kids to be a part of it. So I want to figure myself out. Or you can look at me and go, yeah, your stuff isn't as bad as mine, so you don't understand. It's like, yeah, maybe it wasn't, but we haven't had a conversation, so you don't really know whether my stuff was as bad as your stuff. You don't know what my upbringing was. You don't know what I went through. But by all means, you can use that as a reason not to look at your stuff, or you can take this video and go, holy shit, I'm part of the problem. I'm the reason why things are the way they are because I haven't shown up for my kid. I haven't shown up for myself. My parents didn't show up for me, and I'm still holding on to that. I'm still holding on to the core wounds that my parents gave me 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. I'm still holding on to what my dad did to me when I was 5. I get it. My dad hit me with a brush and he snapped the brush. He hit me so hard. I used to get hit all the time. I get it. It's horrible, but it doesn't do anything to hold on to it. My dad's not going to come back and apologize because he's gone. So put it down, build a bridge, get over it, do whatever you have to. I spent the better part of 20 years dealing with my trauma. I know how hard it is. I know how long it takes. It is horrible and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And yet still throughout the entire 20 years, I just kept saying, get over it. Just get over it. Build a bridge, get over it, let it go. It took me 20 years to let it all go, but yet here I am on the other side going, my trauma does not define me. I now define me. I now get to choose how I move about the world. I now get to choose how I react to things that happen in my external world. I am no longer controlled by things that happened in my past, things that happened to me, because then I'm giving them the control. And isn't that exactly what your parents wanted, was control in the first place? And if I keep reacting to my dad's behavior, then he wins. He gets control. And that's exactly what he wanted. And I am not giving him what he wanted. So I move on, put it down, let it go, forgive, find compassion. It doesn't mean I've forgotten. And it does not mean that I will ever let anyone do anything like that to myself or my daughter ever in my lifetime. But it means that I can not be wound up, not be hurt, not be triggered, not be aggravated, not be reactive through it. I really think parents need to step it up and stop being so worried about what everything in your external world looks like and start worrying more about what everything in your internal world looks out like. Stop worrying about having the right clothes or the right shoes or the right shoes for your kids or the right clothes for your kids, or going out and taking your kids to all these different places and being on social media and scrolling on your phone every day and getting at home and sitting at the table with your phone like this, while your kids are sitting at the table with their phone like this. Like, stop it. Just stop it. Get off your phone. Sit with your kid. Get out a board game. Go and play a game of cricket with them outside. Go for a walk with your kids. Just get off your sodding phone. When you get home from work or whatever you've done, do not pick up your phone. Nothing is more important in this world than creating a bond and a sacred connection with your child, and raising our children to care about this world, to care about our country, to care about who they are, to care about how they feel about themselves. Because this is why our world is going to shit. Because parents think their phone, their job, their money, their car, their friends, the way they appear, the mask that they wear is more important than their actual child. And I invite you to take a really good, hard, long look at yourself and decide, do you actually care about your kid, or do you actually care about what everybody else in the world thinks about how you look with your kid or how your kids look? And do you think dressing your kids in the perfect clothes, but then not having enough money to do things with them, or not going and working your ass off, but not having enough time to go to the beach with them, or not having enough money to, let's say, go on a holiday with them where you don't take your phone and you spend quality time with your kids. Really take a good hard look at what you value in the world and see how you are showing up in the world. Because if your kid is out there getting bullied or being bullied, that's on you. And I know it's a horrible thing. How can I say that the kid being bullied is on me? Well, take a look at it. It means that you were probably bullied as a kid and you have a victim mentality, and your victim mentality is rubbed off on your kid. So your kid is a target for a bully because they have a victim mentality, and then they get to play out the same story, and then they're going to have kids who are going to have victim mentalities, and it's going to go down and down and down and down. And I get it. It's shit and it sucked. I was bullied. I was bullied by my family. I was bullied by every member of my family, not that any of them would admit it or agree to that statement. I was bullied by my entire family. I was bullied by my teachers. I ended up being bullied by my friends. And by year 11, I was completely isolated and segregated from everybody. And it's a hard life to live. Heck, my mum threw me out when I was in year 7 and I was 12. And you know what happened? Let me tell a quick story. So I actually said that to my cousin, and I wanted to share with her. I was trying to help her understand the impact of what I went through compared to what she went through. She said, well, yeah, my mum kicked me out too. And I said, oh, really? How old were you? She said, I was 18. I said, you were 18? Yeah, that's not the same thing. It's getting kicked out of home at 12 when you can't work, you can't drive, you can't get a house, you can't earn any money, you generally can't support yourself, and getting kicked out of home at 18 when you have a license, you can get a job, you're educated, you're like, what? How is that even, how could you even compare those two things together? But this is what I was up against, right? I'm up against someone who gets kicked out of home at 18 going, yeah, I know how you felt. I got kicked out of home when I was 18. It's the same as you getting kicked out of home when you were 12. Totally different experiences. Totally different experiences. My daughter's 11. I could never imagine kicking her out of home at 12. I could never imagine being a parent that would ever do that. But again, I didn't have my mother's life. My mum went through hell. My mum was bullied from her family too. And my mum obviously had her own trauma, given my dad had an affair while he was pregnant with me. And my mum went through, she also lost her son. She lost her firstborn when he was 3 days old. So my mum went through a lot, and she had zero support. And then my dad ended up getting remarried, and that my dad getting remarried is what actually triggered the breakdown, which then is what got me kicked out of home. So, you know, we've all come from hard lives. We've all come from hard parents. And we can either spend our life as a victim, living through that hard life, living through that trauma, living through that woe is me experience, or we can go, hell, I am not going to be that kind of parent for my kids. And you know what? You put let me try that again. You put your big girl knickers on or your big boy panties on, and you freaking get on with it, and you deal with your stuff. But that is why our world has gone to shit. And that is my rant for today. I don't think I can rant anymore about this. Otherwise, I'm going to start getting really angry. So that is it for me today. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.